Hi everyone, I'm Tabitha, and today we're talking about beta readers. Beta readers are always a hot topic around the writing community on social media. I did a video back when I was first starting this channel around tips for beta readers for writers. So writers looking for beta readers or writers ready to take their work to beta readers. I'll link that video in the comments if you're interested, but today's video is going to be a little different. Today we're talking about my tips for being a good beta reader. Tip number 1, read a sample chapter. This is probably the most important recommendation or piece of advice I can give you. Before you agree to beta read for anyone, read their first chapter. Take notes the way you plan to take notes when you beta read. Write down your list of questions that you have after reading that first chapter, then stop. Reach out to the writer and have a conversation with them about your notes and what you read. This is an important step. It allows you and the writer to make sure that you are comfortable with working with each other. You need to be willing to commit to finishing this book, and the writer needs to be open to taking your honest feedback. If that's happening, then maybe you can consider going forward with this pairing. This step, when it's skipped, can cause detriment to the beta reading process, because sometimes it turns out halfway through the writer's not actually been listening to you, or they're not open to your feedback. Maybe they don't agree with your feedback. Maybe you as a beta reader don't see the direction they were going in the book, or maybe you're not willing to finish it. All of that can be figured out, or at least helped, by reading that first chapter and having an honest conversation with each other. Actually, that leads me right into number 2. Number 2, be honest. If you do decide to enter into an agreement with a writer to beta read their book, they're going to need you to be honest. They don't need you to pretend to love what you're reading. They don't need you to lie and say this is the best book you've ever read. They need your honest feedback about the character and the story. If you can't agree to give this to a writer, don't agree to be their beta reader. Number 3, set a focus. It's incredibly important to make sure that the beta reader and the writer are on the same page when it comes to this project. Before you move on from reading chapter 1 to agreeing to read the rest of the book, make sure that you and the writer agree on a focus. What will you be reading for? If you're taking my recommendation, you should be reading for character, pacing, and continuity. But make sure you set that up ahead of time. Also make sure to set up what you won't be reading for, like grammar. If you are a person who feels like you can edit for grammar based on your experience or background, that would be different than beta reading. Make sure you say that up front. In my opinion, one person should not be trying to do both. It's entirely too much work to read for character, continuity, pacing, and grammatical errors. Set deadlines or timings with your writer. How often do they want you checking in, and can you handle that pace? Number 4, question everything. I've said this before in my previous video, but the most important job of a beta reader is to think critically about a book. This often takes the form of questioning things. When we read, we wonder what will happen next. Who will the bad guy be? Or even, will a couple end up together? All of these questions show a deeper understanding of the character and the situations the characters were put in. The writer of a story can benefit greatly from understanding what a reader was thinking and where exactly they were thinking it. For this reason, record questions that you have next to the page that you have them on. Or, if you're taking notes in a separate document, make sure you record the page number or maybe even a word or a quote that triggered that question. At the end of each chapter or section that you are beta reading, my advice is to stop. Write down which chapter you just finished on and record a big list of all the questions that you have right in that exact moment. As a writer, I understand that most of the questions a reader has in this moment will actually be answered later in the story. But it's incredibly powerful to hear that a reader had a question you didn't realize they were still wondering. Maybe it's something that you thought you cleared up in that chapter, or maybe it's something you didn't even think of and you've never addressed later. If you're having these questions, it's important for the writer to know, even if you think they're going to be answered later. Number 5, finish what you start. This is kind of an important tip. Way back at tip number 1, I told you to read a sample chapter and only commit to it if you knew you could finish the book. It's time to finish the book. I get that life happens. I get that not all stories hold your interest. But if at all possible, beta readers need to make finishing the story a priority. Because for the writer who put their time, effort, and love into the story, it is a priority already. You agreed to help way back in tip number 1, and we appreciate it if you actually follow through on that. Okay, that's it for me and my quick tips on how to be a good beta reader. I suggest you take a look at the other video because a lot of that same stuff about what the writer is looking for or how to have a good beta reading experience are going to apply to both parties. If you liked what you watched today, please make sure to hit that red subscribe button so you'll know when I'm back, and drop a comment letting me know what exactly you liked about the video. Keep plotting the path to your dreams, and I will see you next time.